Hi, we're back live again. Bit of a power cut. I'm going to say it's probably my fault. But never mind. Me and computers don't get on very well. Never mind. So, Tom, we're just going to resume our conversation about Cardiff City. So, as I say, it's been a good period, good season overall. I'd say for Cardiff. So 10 recent form, very good. 10 points from possible 15. What's changed there? Obviously, I know. Obviously, Morrison went. Why are they playing well this season? What's changed from last season? So obviously, looking at the squad, it's like almost a new squad, isn't it, from last season?
I think that's probably the main thing why we've seen a bit of a change. It's definitely been changed in the last few games since Morrison went. Personally, I really wanted him to stay. I think he could have seen it through, and we would have had these type of performances eventually anyway. But I'm glad that it's actually starting to come together a bit. And it's a bit of a changing style of football. That was the main kind of difference, in my opinion. That kind of abandoning the football that Cardiff were sort of known for, sort of that Mick McCarthy, hoof it long, seen under the likes of Warnock and Russell Slade, even going a few years back. Kind of that just assumption that Cardiff are going to rough teams up, try and hoof it long, play for set pieces, and hope that somebody will get ahead on it and that will score. Whereas Morrison wanted to play a bit more of a possession-based passing football. And I think that was shown with the activity in the transfer window, with the players that we signed, some exciting players, and also getting rid of a bit of the deadwood. So I think the biggest change to last year is managing to actually implement kind of a new, more possession-based passing style of football.
Yeah. I think a total of 19 signings, is it? Is that right, in the summer? There's quite a lot. A lot of, I think Sean Morrison went. He was there for quite a while. Will Vaulks went, I think. I know one of the players coming in you signed was Callum Robertson, I think, from West Brom. How's he been looking this season for Cardiff?
Really good last few games. He's gone into a little bit of a run of goals last few games. He's got his first goal, an equaliser, very late on against Burnley. And then he scored as well against Wigan Saturday just gone. Unfortunately, came off just before half-time. He took quite a nasty knock, and I think we're sort of nursing him back to fitness this week in training. Hudson didn't really comment much on it in his press conference today. He said they were trying to nurse him back. He'd not been training too much this week and just trying to ease him back in. So whether he starts this weekend, I'm not entirely sure. But it was a signing we needed to make. Striker is a position where we've kind of lacked, especially since selling Kiefer Moore last year. And I'm not entirely sure. The fact that we'd never actually really replaced him last season sort of became our undoing a bit. But hopefully we've got our, sort of replacement. It's hard to replace a player like Moore, especially in this division, because strikers who will get you bags of goals every year, they're quite rare, and they're even harder to replace. So hopefully we can start firing a bit under Robinson, and he can get a few more goals for us this year.
Yeah, formation wise, it's from what I've seen in the game, from what I've seen in the tactics in the previous games, do they like to play the lone striker Robinson, or do they sort of generally sort of mix up a bit?
Usually it's a striker up top, but with wingers as well. One we can see is usually like a 4-3-3. It looks like that we try to play. So trying to make use of the wingers, and definitely Callum O'Dowda has helped with that massively this year. I think he's such a quality player, really quick. He was seen as a bit of like kind of signing when he came in, because he was just another. I think he was a free transfer coming from Bristol City, and we signed quite a few Bristol players over the years. Some of them have been really great, and some of them have not been so good. So there's consensus at the start could have been like, oh, there we are. It's just going to be another Bristol City flop that we get. But he started really well. I think he's brilliant going forward. He's great on the ball, and hopefully him and Robinson can start understand each other's game a little bit. And I think if they can sort of get on the same level and they start to click, we could be a pretty decent team going forward. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they can. The signs are there. They're starting to click. Definitely against Wigan, and I'd say against Blackburn as well. To be honest, we were just unlucky. There was only 1-0 in the end. But yeah, I think it's slowly getting there, hopefully.
And who are the main sort of danger players? You mentioned Dowder and Robinson. I mean, Rinomhota, obviously a new sign from Reading. How's he been looking as well?
Decent. I think he's really underrated. I think because we had so many midfielders come in the summer, he was going to be tricky to sort of, you can't play everybody kind of thing. So he started pretty well. I'm impressed with what I've seen of him. Romain Sawyers as well. I think he's been quality. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of Ebou Adams as well as the season goes on, because I think he has amazing potential. And really happy that Ryan Wintle is a holding midfielder for us. He managed to get his first goal for the club against Wigan on Saturday. He scored a brilliant free kick. Don't know if he meant it, but it was a good goal anyway. So midfield for the first time in quite a while is actually looking pretty solid. Because we have so much depth in now, which is something we've not really had in recent times, but like actual quality and depth as well. So like Rinomhota, Sawyers, Adams, Joe Rolls, Ryan Wintle, there's some really decent players there, and it's pretty good.
Your centre halves, they kind of new pairing. I think Kiprow's a signing this summer as well. And Simpson's not a player I recognise. Was he a signing as well, Jack Simpson?
Yeah, Jack Simpson. He came from Rangers in the summer. He's been okay, quite inconsistent, a bit hit and miss, but I think there's a good defender there for sure. Cedric Kipré has been brilliant. I really hope we try and go for him and sign him in the summer, because I think he's been absolutely quality for us. He pairs really well with Perry Ng. Who's been absolutely quality as well. So, I'm saying everyone's brilliant. You think we'd be higher up in the table, but I think there's definitely quality in that team. It's been a little bit hit and miss this year as to whether it's been on show or not.
Yeah. Well, bear in mind we're bottom of the league. I think everyone's brilliant at the moment. So it's not feeling great. Let's get a Sky perspective with Victoria Oaks. Welcome, Victoria. Good to have you back on the podcast.
Hi, Mark. You're right.
Yeah, not bad. All good. I mean, really, it's a big game for us. We need to start winning games, particularly away from home. Obviously, we played the bulk of the games away, but we've had a mini run of a few draws and that win against Middlesbrough. How do you see this game going for us?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think Cardiff's a difficult place to go. I think the one good thing is that we're not on a wet Wednesday night like we were last season, because that was a terrible evening, wasn't it? I think at least a Saturday, slightly better time to go to Cardiff, I think. And I think, Tom's been talking about all the new players, and it makes it quite difficult because obviously we get to see bits of other teams, but you don't see as much of other teams as you do your own. And so there's obviously a lot of players that are bedding in there, and having a look, it looks like the sort of form starting to pick up. And so it looks like those players are starting to gel for Cardiff, which probably isn't great from our perspective if they're starting to hit form. I think I caught the sort of tail end of the conversation when I came on that it seems strange that they got rid of Morrison so quickly, because if you're looking to completely change the dynamic of the way you play and your squad and bring in all these new players to sort of change that, to not give him then chance to implement that was a bit of a strange one. And it seems that those sort of players are starting to gel now and things are starting to go in the right direction, and he didn't really get the chance to see that through, which I don't know, it just seems a bit odd, especially as no one, you still only got a caretaker manager, haven't you, Tom? There's not been any permanent, so they obviously didn't have anyone in mind. It just I don't know, from outside the club it seems a little bit baffling really as to what they were thinking there, but
it's kind of what our board are pretty well known, unfortunately, for not making brilliant decisions, and this is just another one in a long line of them. And it was like all the rumours that came out afterwards about which way we were going to go next with a manager. One of the rumours in the first few days was that the club were looking to appoint somebody younger to kind of take the project forward, kind of thing. But it's Morrison's project. Why would you sack him if he's building it? With that many players coming in, it's going to take time to implement. And we'd be happy with a mid-table finish this year. We know we're not going to challenge for playoffs or promotion, so just a few decent performances, and they were there under Morrison. It's still a bit baffling, and from what we've seen so far, with Mark Hudson as the caretaker. Hopefully, I really hope he gets the job full time now.
Do you? Good.
He's basically like carrying on what Morrison has started, similar style of football as well. And out of anybody at the minute, even just for the sake of stability and a bit of stability at the club with a massive overhaul of players, and now the manager's gone so early, just so everyone kind of just like settle and just calm down a bit and keep things consistent. I'd give Hudson the job, and I really hope he gets it.
Yeah, because I suppose the trouble is, if you bring a lot of new players in, you're looking to change the system. If you bring another manager in who's got another idea, I mean, we see lots of clubs like this, don't we, where they're just like manager after manager, season after season, and they want their own players each time, and there's never any stability. I mean, there's loads of clubs sort of bashing around in the Championship that are like that, where they're not really getting anywhere because they're just changing the manager all the time. So if Hudson's going to carry on that project, that seems sensible from the club, doesn't it, to move them forward in the same direction rather than thinking, I don't know, you bring someone young in that's got a whole range of new ideas and wants a whole range of new players, because otherwise you just like, I mean, I think that we have seen in the Robins the benefit of having a long-term manager, I think, haven't we, Mark? The fact that he's built a system since League Two and brought us through the leagues. We've now got a squad that plays a certain way that is his way. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that sort of stability, isn't there, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the case of Robins, I think it's unlike Mr. Tam at Cardiff, our owners seem to show a lot of faith in Mark Robins. And to be fair, Mark Robins has got a very hard job there with no money to spend on players. It's a tough ask. I think Cardiff probably financially in a better place than us. Probably one of the lowest budgets in the league, but I think Robins has done a really good job. But that's looking the past. I think looking to this season, we need to start getting wins. We can't afford to keep drawing or losing games because we're getting further and further adrift the table. Admittedly, we have got games in hand, but you've got to win them games in hand. It's all very well having them games. So it's a big game for us Saturday. Make no doubt. Cardiff is going to be a tough game. Because we're playing against a side who are in very good form, playing with confidence. I don't think we played badly last time out at Burnley. I thought Burnley just were a little bit too strong for us. I
think we respected them a bit too much, didn't we? We gave them in the first half. No. We just gave them a bit too much respect, and I think if we'd gone for it a bit more, I think there was points to be had there, and we didn't really take that.
Well, I think on the previous show, I think I would have liked to have seen us gone into played the way Burnley were playing with us, because when we had the ball, Burnley were in our faces, didn't give us any time on the ball, and we're often resorting to long passes to Gyökeres, and we ended up losing the ball. And I think that's my kind of fear for Saturday, is I think we'll probably play a similar way. I'd like to see a bit more of the ball played to someone like Casey Palmer, and see what he can do. I suspect the tactics will be pretty much long sort of diagonal balls up to Gyökeres, and Gyökeres tries to win the ball and run at the Cardiff defenders. And to be fair, if he wins a couple, it could work. But I'm not. To be honest with you, I'm not very optimistic about Saturday's game. I don't feel we've got any. I don't feel any confidence about this one. I think really we need to win. People might think a draw is a good result. It's not a good result. We've got to win. We've got to win football matches. 1 win in 10 isn't good enough. And I think we're playing Cardiff at a really, really bad time. So we'll probably win 1-0 now. I should have said that, but we'll see what happens.
I suppose the one good thing is that Cardiff have won a few games recently, and the Championship is so strange that no team tends to win a lot of games in one run, because people can all beat one another all the time. So actually, the fact that Cardiff have won a couple of games probably helps us, because we're more likely to win it. I think if we go into the game with our best players, I think that's one thing that's really hampered this season, as everyone knows. I think Hamer, it's his last game in his suspension. Callum O'Hare probably won't be. I would be very, very surprised if we made it to the bench, but we'll see what happens. You never know. But they're key players. I mean, when you're playing against these sort of teams, these opposition, you've got to be best players available to have a chance. And I don't personally. I don't know what you think, Vicky, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of changes from the team. Maybe Matty Godden starts ahead of
Tyler Walker. Maybe that's one thing that
probably. I'd have thought. I think he's probably been
one. The only other thing he could do, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Vicky. Could he play maybe just Gyökeres up front and play the extra midfielder against the Cardiff side, in good form? Is that an
trouble
option?
is we've got we're a bit light in midfield at the moment, aren't we? Really. So then you have to bring in probably someone less experienced than Matty. So I mean that's an option, but you're just thinking who would he bring in into midfield? Whereas you could play like two up front with Matty Godden. That's a much more experienced team to take to Cardiff, isn't it? I think that would be my concern, because I mean I always think that the midfield is a bit of a problem for us at the moment with the lack of players in there, and like if we just weaken that even further, because numbers isn't everything, is it? I mean, there needs to be quality and experience as well. So there's no point just putting 5 midfielders in just for the sake of it if they're not going to actually add anything to the team. Because otherwise you're going to just expose Gyökeres, because he's going to have no support if there's not enough players getting forward from midfield. So that's the risk, I think. So I'd be inclined to play the two of them up front, Matty and Gyökeres together. Pretty much, I suppose, the team that played Middlesbrough is pretty much the team I'd be playing against Cardiff, I think. And I think that I'm relatively optimistic. I mean, the trouble is, it's in the Championship, on your day, you can beat anybody and anybody can beat you. So it depends how we turn up, it depends how Cardiff turns up. But I haven't seen this, apart from probably the Norwich game and maybe the first half of the Burnley game, I haven't seen us play badly this season. I think that we've been in most games, we've given most teams a game, we've been unlucky, we've been the downfall of our own failures a lot of the time. We've given away points and goals by our own silly mistakes. So we're not a million miles away from being a team that can pick up points. And I think that now that we're getting a run of games, because obviously we were sort of playing a week and then having a week off because of having no pitch and things like that. Now we're getting a run of games. I genuinely believe that we've got enough there to start climbing the table. So whether that be on Saturday, I don't know. But I think that we've got enough games through October to really start picking up some points and starting to get back to hopefully some sort of mid-table security.
Yeah, as I say, I think you look at the games ahead: Cardiff, Sheffield United away. Sheffield United at home, even Stoke City away. I mean, they're games I think we could pick up points. I think if you probably target maybe 4 or 5 points, you could say that's okay. I think it's. I'm with you in terms of 2 up front. I think that's probably the best way forward in terms of our best way of beating Cardiff. Sometimes I feel we get a little bit overrun in midfield. I do worry a bit about Jamie Allen, for example, in central midfield with Ben Sheaf. I think Sheaf is by far our best player. It's just an area I always feels a little bit of weakness for me. Yeah,
Allen's better if he plays behind Palmer. I think it was worse when Allen was playing ahead of Sheaf. Like if Sheaf and Allen played, I mean, I think that Allen is only playing really because the stronger midfielder. He wouldn't get in there if we had all of our strongest midfielders. Well, for me, I mean, Mark Roberts might disagree, but for me, he would never get in there if all of our players were fit and available. But I think that he's marginally stronger if you play him back alongside Sheaf as opposed to in front, like in the sort of Palmer, O'Hare role. So I think that he did slightly better against Middlesbrough because he was playing a bit deeper in that game. So I have to say. Yeah, so if Palmer can be fit for another game, that would be ideal. Really, we don't really want to have to push Allen forward to be that sort of that role behind the strikers, because he just can't do that for me.
No, I don't think Allen going forward is great. I don't think his shooting is brilliant either. He doesn't. I mean, not just him, but there's not enough players who score enough goals in midfield. Ben Sheaf has been brilliant for us. But probably my slight criticism of him is maybe he needs to score more goals. I know it's not necessarily. He's not an attacking player. He's a good defensive player, and he brings players in the game. He's got a lot of qualities, and he's a quality player. But there's a few players. We can't just keep relying on the 2 strikers to get us goals. We need goals from other areas of the team.
Definitely.
And I think that's an area I feel needs to improve on. I want to bring Tom back in. I've got a question here from Glenn about Callum Robinson. Are Cardiff lacking a proven Championship goal scorer, or has the signing of Robinson given them one now?
We definitely were. At the start of the season, before we signed Robinson, we were we were massively lacking in the striker department. mainly come from the fact we didn't really replace Kiefer Moore last year. And, someone like him, even if you can't replace him fully, at least getting someone in who can score your goals is absolutely crucial. So it was a little bit of rotation between the strikers we already have. But, last couple of games, Robinson's managed to grab a few goals. And, hopefully this can be a bit of a kickstarter to a decent bit of form and, probably solidify himself as our starting striker. Like I said, he picked up a little bit of a knock against Wigan, and hopefully it's not too serious. And, even if he starts from the bench on Saturday, then I wouldn't mind too much. I'd rather, make sure he's fully fit and you don't risk a long-term injury, because if he goes out for a while, then, we're done for. And, without too much, without disrespecting Coventry, maybe it's that type of game where you can afford to maybe rest him if he's nursing an injury as well. So I think he will be our championship proven goal scoring striker. But early days yet, but the signs are looking pretty good.
Yeah. One other question from Glenn about just looking a bit further ahead, further later on in the season, about the World Cup break, and possibly, given that 3 to 4 Cardiff players will be selected by Wales, will that be a problem when the league's fixture regime? Or you kind of, I suppose you mentioned earlier about the size of the squad. You've got quite a big squad that Cardiff this season, so it's probably not as big a concern for you, or are you concerned?
Not particularly concerned at the minute, and it's just small thinking from who Rob Page is going to select for the Wales squad. I think because it's such a quality team, it's quite a nice problem to have in the last 10 years or so as a Wales fan, because before that it was just dreading international breaks, whereas now they can't come soon enough. In terms of any Cardiff players that might be selected, I think probably only 1 or 2 of the Welsh players will actually go. Ruben Colwill, I think, pretty nailed on to go. He's been in all the Nations League and qualifier squads, and maybe he'll call up Isaac Davies as well. But the only thing is they've not been playing all that much this season. They were for us last year, but I don't think Colwill, especially from what Morrison was saying when he was still coach, he's not quite at match. So I think just because of how big our squad is at the minute, and the signings we brought in, and the amount of quality we've got in those positions where players would potentially be going, I think we'll be okay, to be honest. And it's mainly only because they've not featured too much this year. Like, I want to see them feature more. I want to see Colwill play more. I think he's absolutely quality. He was one of our best players last year, without a shadow of a doubt. But neither him or Davis have played that much so far this season. I think Davis is coming off an injury anyway. But just that, because they've not really played as much, I think we'll probably be okay.
Yeah. Well, Joel Bagan, he's another player. He scored against us last season, I remember. Is he featured much this season for Cardiff?
Occasionally, yeah. He was really unlucky. He started a couple, but only because we signed a left back in the summer, and he was absolutely quality for the first few games. Jamilu Collins, his name was, and he was really starting to become a fan favourite. He was usually in who scored team of the weeks with his player ratings consistently in the 7.5s, and unfortunately he tore his ACL, so he's out for the season now, which is absolutely gutting, and he left quite a big hole. But we signed Nkunku on loan from Everton, who has really, really impressed me so far. He was a little bit shaky to start, but he's really settled in well. So it's a nice issue to have 2 good players at left back, because last year it was really thin in that. Bagan had to pretty much play all season because we got rid of Joe Bennett, which to this day I don't really know why we did and why we let him go on a free. But having 2 quality left backs in that position, it's quite a nice issue to have.
A question here from a guy called Miles. Don't know, I've never met him before in my life, but he's asking about which team have impressed you this season against Cardiff.
Good question. Luton, I think, are always going to be a tough game for anybody. I think they are a really decent team. They've shown that last year. I'm a massive fan of Nathan Jones, and not only because where he grew up is not too far away from me, and he's a Cardiff City fan as well. But I rate him so much as a manager. I think he's absolutely quality. And to be honest, Burnley as well. For that first half against us, they kind of switched off in the second, but for that first half and up until they scored, they looked absolutely quality. I'm a big fan of Vincent Kompany. I loved him as a player, and I think hopefully he's going to be a really good manager. The style of play kind of reminds me of what Morrison was trying to do at Cardiff. So, and I think, they're probably going to be pushing for a automatic promotion spot this year. It's still United to beat this year for the title. But that second place, it's looking quite close. I think teams will probably fade a little bit as well as the season goes on. And I think Burnley could be up there. So, yeah, I think the ones that definitely come to mind straight away are those two.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw at Burnley last week, they played at our place, and they're a very good sort of workmanlike team. They play a very high press system, and they're quite a good passing side as well. They're technically got a very strong side. I think I would probably say them and Norwich were the best teams I've seen so far from a commentary perspective. I think Norwich were outstanding, although we had a bit of an off day, obviously. But I think they're probably the two favourites. I think probably for Cardiff this season, I think you think playoffs is possibly a realistic target this season, given the games you've seen them play?
I don't think so. We've been, even though we're in a little bit of a decent run now with 2 wins and a draw in our last 3 games, I don't think we'll have the consistency to keep it going, only because how we've been earlier on in the season, where we had quite a few draws, quite a couple of losses, and I'd be really happy with mid-table. I think we're 9th at the minute, so if we can finish around there, I'd be absolutely buzzing compared to how terrible it was last year. Or even if it's a bit lower down, maybe a 11th or 12th, I'd be pleased with that. It gives us a solid foundation then going into summer 2023 to recruit, and then pushing on next year to hopefully try and go for playoff finish next year. I think this year's just a little bit too early, and because I don't know how we'd particularly fare in the playoffs anyway. But I'd be happy with mid-table, and I said we know it's going to be a bit of a long-term project with us, and I think if in the first year of the sort of rebuild per se, if we could end up mid-table, I'd be really pleased with that.
Got another question here from someone called Ken. I don't know, I've never met him before in my life, but he's asking about: is it true that Cardiff, Mr. Town's looking to sell the club? Is there any truth in that aspect, or is that just a load of cobblers?
There's always, every now and again, there's a couple of rumours going around with that Town's looking to sell, or he's listening to bids, but nothing ever really comes of it. To be honest, I don't think, definitely not for a while anyway. If he does, I think at the moment he's put probably too much money into it to just sell up. He's written off quite a bit of debt as well in the last couple of years, and I think if he was looking to sell within the next couple of years, I don't see why he really would have done that. So yeah, there's always whispers on Twitter that apparently he's looking to sell up, and XYZ person is apparently going to leave the board when they do and whatever, but I can't really see it happening anytime soon myself.
No, fair enough. Going to just change that to Coventry, Victoria. I mean, next 3 games, realistically, how many points do you feel we can get from the next 3 games?
9.
I like that. Yeah, I like the positivity. Unlike me, you're a very positive person, so I that's really good.
No, but seriously, I think at least 5 or 6. I think that there's 5 or 6. I think a couple of wins or winning a couple of draws is achievable, and I think that's what we just need to be doing now, isn't it? Just keep on picking up points steadily, so we can gradually climb the table, and hopefully, if Huddersfield and West Brom can sort of keep their current form, we can get above them quite quickly. Although obviously now West Brom have got rid of Steve Bruce, you don't really want the teams that you're challenging to get above to be getting new managers, do you? Because they're going to have that sort of like honeymoon period now. Whereas at the moment, West Brom were just like not turning up, and so we didn't really want them to get rid of their manager until we'd got above them, did we? Really, but yeah.
I think when Gus Hamer comes back for Sheffield United, I think I feel a little bit more confident. Although Sheffield United had a couple of iffy results, but have done pretty well overall this season. But I think for me, we would all love 9 points, but I'd probably say maybe 4 points from the next 3 games. I just don't know. I don't see us getting anything on Saturday. Do you feel we can get something at Cardiff, or not really?
No, I think we can get something there. I think that if we turn up and our players play, I think I'm looking at like when we went to maybe like Millwall and we turned up in the first half, and I think that people thought that might be quite a difficult game, and we turned up and then we threw those 3 points away, didn't we, to a goalkeeper error. But if we turn up with that type of play for the first half against Cardiff, I see no reason why we couldn't get something out of that game. I think that's the trouble, that you never really entirely know what type of Coventry team's going to turn up. So it's always slightly difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen, because sometimes Robins will throw in a curveball with selection. Sometimes the players just don't turn up, and so you just never really know. But best team that we've got available and they turn up, I think that we're a match for anybody on the day, and so there's no reason why we couldn't get at least a point from the Cardiff game for me.
Yeah. Tom, how do you think the game's going to go overall for Cardiff? What's your sort of prediction and for the game?
See, with my Cardiff hat on, this is exactly the type of game that I just hate watching us play, because we're expected, because we're in a decent bit of form. It's a team that's lower down. We're expected to do well, and it's just I hate playing those kind of games, especially as well with the fact that you mentioned earlier Casey Palmer is playing for you guys now, and I saw earlier today that Jake Bidwell's out there now, so that's a couple of ex-Swansea players there. They're probably not going to get the best reception, so they're going to show up, probably turn into like prime Dennis Bergkamp and Roberto Carlos, because because it's Cardiff is what happens against us. So it's the type of game that I wouldn't really be looking forward to for us playing. I think it is going to be tough, but hopefully I think we just have that quality and the form that we're in at the minute to see us over the line. And it's a cliche as all this time, the whole new manager bounce, but we definitely are kind of seeing it. I think some of the games that we've played under Hudson so far, especially the Burnley game, I think we probably would have lost before, and the Blackburn game would have been a draw. So hopefully we can see our form continue. The omens are looking good, and hopefully it'd be a really good opportunity to carry on and get a decent bit of form together with the South Wales derby looming like so soon. I really hope we can just get a bit of form together before that more than anything.
Yeah, I got a comment here from Feta D from the Coventry perspective. He's actually optimistic. 2-1 or 3-2 winning against Cardiff on Saturday. You can see there've been a few goals. Can you see there've been a few goals Saturday, Vicky?
Well, yeah, because we can score, but we also can't really defend, can we? Although, to be fair, we have got better at that now. Panzer's come into the team, so we're a bit more solid. But I think we've still got the ability to leak goals, but we've also got the ability to score. So I think that, I'd agree. I think that's a sort of. I think it'll go 2-1, 3-2 either way. I think, or maybe even like a 2-2 draw, something like that. I think I can't see it being like some sort of 0-0, sort of tepid affair. I think there'll be goals in it. Hopefully, just more for us.
Yeah.
I think Gorkarez as well. I think Gorkarez seems, I don't know, the last couple of games he's just seemed a bit out of sorts. If he can get his head into gear and get back to how he sort of was, that'll make a massive difference. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but he just seems a little bit out of sorts. And so if he can sort of recapture that sort of form that he was showing, that's a massive threat for us, I think, and it could turn the game really.
Yeah, I think having Callum O'Hare available has an impact on a lot of players. And I think Gyökeres is one. I think the style of football's changed a bit as well. We're a lot more direct than we have been in most games. I mean, you look at, for example, a goal kick. Usually, it'd be like a pass to the centre back and try and pass our way through teams. Whereas now we're trying to play more long ball.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the way we're going to go for this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they change tacks on that one. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm not massively optimistic about this game. I think I think the best way we're going to get out of this game is a draw. And really, in all honesty, a draw is not good enough. We need to start winning games of football. I'd like to see us go 2 up front with Matty Godden coming back into the side. I thought Tyler Walker done okay against Burnley, but I think you want your best 2 strikers for this game. So I'd like to see Matty Godden come back into the starting 11. I think defensively we have looked better. In fairness, I didn't think we've been too bad defensively. We've been okay. We got undone by a decent goal by Teller for Burnley.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like early on in the season, we were giving away goals, like sloppy mistakes, silly things by like the goalkeepers or defenders. That actually was a bit of quality by Burnley, wasn't it? And that probably is one of the few goals all season that we've conceded that actually was created by the opposition having that bit of skill. And you have to take that on the chin, don't you? Teams, like if someone beats you through a bit of skill, you just have to take that on the chin. That's what happened on the day. It's frustrating when you're giving the opposition those goals by like missing tackles or missed passes and things like that. So I think the Burnley goal is one of the few goals I can think of all season where actually they created that and we didn't give them that particularly. And so I suppose that does mark the difference with our defence, and also the fact that Burnley are a team that have just come down and got that extra bit of little quality around their team, maybe.
Yeah, I wasn't. To be honest with you, I wasn't massively disappointed about. I mean, okay, the performance could have been better. We can all agree on that. I thought Burnley got a better side on the day. I think what annoyed me more was I look at the Bristol City away game, and people would say, would come off that game saying a point is a great result at Bristol City, and I was like, well, we had chances in the second half to nick that 1-0, and it's just that bit of luck at the moment where you want that shot to go through the keeper's legs or just get a scruffy goal from somewhere. I mean, obviously, with the exception of Middlesbrough, we haven't had that this season. And that's the sort of game, them tight games, you've got to come away with that 1-0 win. And that's the difference this season. Last season, in them tight games, we were winning more than we weren't winning. So this time we're not. And yes, as you said earlier, at the start of the season, we were the architects of our own downfall. We gave away some really poor goals. I think in the last 4 or 5 games we've tightened up. We're picking up draws. We've kept clean sheets, with the exception obviously of last week. But in the main, we have tightened things up. So that's a positive. But we've got to be better when we get the ball going forward. I just feel at the moment when we attack, there never seems to be enough bodies in the box. Or we miss chances. In fairness, some of the chances aren't always easy chances. They could just be shots from outside the box, and it's just been frustrating this season. It's just we just don't seem to be not getting going. I think we are getting better, but we need to start winning games of football. It's as simple as that. It's all very well drawing games, but if you're not picking them wins up as well, it makes things harder. And we haven't won away from from home this season. That's a concern as well for me. Don't know what you're thinking about that.
No, although we could have done, couldn't we? And we should have done. I guess as well, if you consider from, I suppose, the Luton game where we sort of been playing regularly, we've only lost 1 game in that one, haven't we? So if the season had started then, which would have been a sort of normal run of games, as opposed to playing 1 week, having a week off and all that lot. If the season had started properly, I don't think we would have been bottom. I think that it's a difficult situation. I think, and it might help us going forward, because I think there's a lot of teams that are underestimated, because there's a lot of teams that go, oh look, they're bottom, they must be having a really bad season, or their players aren't good enough. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's just that it's the way the season started and a whole host of issues, which have obviously been discussed more than enough times about the troubles that we've had. But I think that might help us going forward, because I'm sure there's more than one team that's going to underestimate us in the coming weeks, thinking, oh yeah, look at Cov bottom of the league, we should be beating them. Well, if they don't turn up properly, then they won't, because we're better than our position. I believe I've seen teams worse than us already this season. So I think we have to just be careful not to get too despondent about it, because I genuinely believe that come the World Cup break, we can sort of turn this around and sort of start the second half of the season in a much better position.
Yeah, I think we're just desperate to win games of football in the day. You can't keep talking and saying, well, there are teams out there that are worse than us. We've got to prove we're better than them. And the only way we can do that is to get out on the field of play and win games of football. It doesn't matter how you win, as long as you win. To say, I think performances have improved in the last 4 or 5 games. I think there is some cause for optimism. And I think added to that, when Gus Hayman comes back, that will definitely strengthen our attacking play. Obviously, it's not going to help us on Saturday because he's not available. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't think we're playing badly. We just need to get a bit of luck. I don't think we have that luck at the moment.
We could do with playing Wigan and their bigger goals, couldn't we? That's what we could do with.
Yeah, but it's also about getting that first. It's getting the first goal in games. There's been so many games this season where we concede first, and when we concede first, we don't usually come back.
No.
Everyone talked about Robin's time last season. That was a big theme of last season where we come back and score 95th minute goals, but it hasn't been that way this season. There's not been many games. I think probably Millwall and the Borough game where we've led, and one game we won and one game we lost. So, I think I don't see this game going our way. I feel like we will lose 2-0. That's just my view. I don't feel optimistic about this game at all. I think Cardiff, unfortunately, played them at a really, really bad time for us. But you never know. I mean, strange things happen. As Tom says it could be a sort of a banana skin fixture for Cardiff. Maybe, I hope it is, but I'm not massively optimistic. I have to be honest. I think if we concede first, I don't see us coming back. That's just my view. But you reckon we can win, Vicky?
I do, yeah. See, Tom, you'll see that me and Mark are pair of opposites. I'm always the more optimistic one, and he's always the more pessimistic one. We sort of balance it out a bit.
Yeah, I think if you had a Herons and Hamer, I'd say definitely we could get maybe a draw or maybe a cheeky little win. But I just don't feel confident really. But you reckon we'll win?
I think we get a win. I think we can get a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to score? How are we going to win the game? Who's going to get the goals for us?
I think Matty Godden will get one, and I think Palmer and Godden 2. I think Cardiff will score, so probably 2-1.
2-1.
Godden and Palmer to score for us.
Tom, a score prediction for you?
Going to be quite tough. I'm going to go with 3-1 us again, like the Wigan result. I think I can see being like a bit of a flattering 3-1 as well. Coventry have got it all to play for, kind of thing. I can see it being, 2-1 quite late, and then just getting a Coventry too many players forward, lucky third just to seal the game, kind of thing. So I think it's going to be tricky, but when it comes down to it, I think we're kind of starting to settle a bit now with the players we got and the style of play that they want to play with. So hopefully it'll be a fairly similar game to Wigan, but like I've said earlier, it's supporting Cardiff this year has just been so hard to kind of predict which way a game's going to go, especially early on. We were so up and down. We could, it doesn't matter who we were playing, whether they were top of the league or bottom, we could easily win 5-0 or get battered, and it wouldn't have been the slightest bit surprising. So, but hopefully that's behind us now, and that's a thing of the past, and we can carry on this run of form that we're on. And I'm going with a Cardiff win.
3-1. Yeah, no, it's a good shout. So I'm going to go Cardiff win as well. Sadly, I'm going 2-0.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah. Can't see us getting anything there, unfortunately. I really want us to win. And I'll be very happy to eat humble pie in this next show if we win. But in all honesty, I just don't see it happening. I think the best we can get is a draw, maybe. We could get a 2-2. But I just don't see it happening. I think Cardiff are in good form, and we're not. So, I mean, we're not in good form. We're in terrible form, but not good enough for us to win. I think if we had Gus Hamer available, I think I'd be a little bit more confident. But yeah, I'll go 2-0. That's just my view anyway. I think I can see your face, Vic. You look very disappointed in me.
I'm going to be ready on Sunday to be gloating when you're wrong.
Yeah, you can gloat away. It's fine. Gloat away. No problem at all. Yeah, so that's our predictions for Saturday's game. Hopefully, I will be eating humble pie, and we'll be talking about Coventry win. One hopes, but we'll talk about that on Sunday's show. So Sunday's show, we've got a couple of guests from the Sheffield United side. We've got the Travelling Blade and the Shoreham View. They'll be coming on to talk about Sheffield United. Obviously, the usual COF guests will be coming on to the pod. If anyone wants to come on our show, send us a DM at Sky Blue Fan TV 1. You can also message me direct, Mark Smith CCFC, at Mark Smith CCFC, shall I say, on Twitter. So yeah, that's coming up. So we'll look forward to that. Thanks everyone for listening to tonight's show. So we'll speak to you soon on Sunday. Play up Sky Blues and good night.